So I just want to say, Nick, you fucking died every time with the Gods from the Machine.
I don't think there was a single boss that I actually made it through.
No, you died every time.
Every time.
You were dead at the end.
I even fell off like the platforms a couple times in between bosses, or died from the ads or something.
Yeah, and the best part was I was like pushing for you not to play because I knew how bad it was going to be, and Max was like, "Oh, Nick, you have to go. You have to. Don't worry, it's going to be okay." And
I tried to warn them. I don't think they quite were. I don't think they grasped just how terrible I was going to be at that op beforehand. They're like, "Oh, you'll be fine."
Well, I don't think they grasped anything about how bad you were at that. But anyways, all I'm going to say is you were dead the entire time. You got to see the fight from a different view. Yeah. Back up.
Right.
Hi, I'm Marcus.
And I'm Nick.
And we are Working Class Nerds.
We're the podcast that gives you no information about your favorite information.
Today is Thursday, November 15th, 2018, and you can find this I Had the Time of My Life in a Video Game podcast on Google Play, Buzzsprout, Apple Podcasts, and Stitcher. You can find me on Twitter. I am at MarcusB814.
And I am at Nick Vern, that's Nickvern. And this week's episode, we're going to be interviewing Eric Musco, the Senior Community Manager for Star Wars The Old Republic. Eric, first of all, thank you so much for coming on the show. And before we jump into the interview, what have you been up to this week?
What have I been up to this week? So work, as anyone who's been on the internet for Sports Tour will have seen. We've been putting out so much information for the Guild stuff, and especially in preparation for the Guild live stream. That stuff's always really fun because I also am not intimately familiar with a lot of it. Like I'm more familiar with it than obviously the players would be, but like I also then have to like sit down with the designers and kind of like really get into the nitty gritty to make sure I fully understand all the systems before we go talk about it. And so it's one of the things that's always really fun. So I spent a lot of time this week talking to designers about all of the stuff that's coming in 5.10, which is always fun.
When you guys are preparing for a live stream, is it okay, we're doing a live stream tomorrow, what are we going to talk about? Or do you guys actually get in a meeting and actually talk about the live stream before you do it?
And like break down like the agenda?
And test the internet connection.
Oh my God, the internet. Jesus.
Sorry, I had to do it.
How long do we have to talk about the internet connection?
Well, we've had our own troubles.
Yeah, so we've had plenty of troubles with our own internet. But correct me if I'm wrong, you guys have games that are online games. And your studio can't keep a steady connection.
All right, I'll two-part answer. So I'll answer the internet first, then I'll talk about the preparation. So the thing that's tricky with our internet in our building, for security reasons, which this will make perfect sense when I say it, like we don't allow people to stream from the building for obvious reason. Like if there's lots of like secretive things that are being developed inside of our building. And so like, we don't want people to just have to we don't want to give people the ability to just stream to anywhere from inside the building for security reasons. Mm-hmm. And so when we want to do a stream, we actually have to go through a whole bunch of hurdles. We actually use a separate internet connection than the rest of the building is hooked up to. Like there's a whole bunch of technical stuff that goes into doing a live stream. It's not just as simple as plug it into the network port and press stream. And so I honestly have no idea what's been going on with our internet, but it's been getting worse. Like the external connection that we use to stream. I have some meetings planned with some people to address it because it's bad and it's frustrating. It's frustrating.
Right.
It's frustrating.
Well, I understand, but I have a perfect fix for you guys.
Tell me.
AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon. You can do a mobile hotspot and you'll get 4G LTE speeds in Austin, Texas.
I love it.
And you'll be able to stream to perfection.
Do we need to put a hashtag sponsored next to
hashtag not a sponsor?
Yeah, not a sponsor, yeah.
Hashtag now kind of a sponsor, I guess.
Love it.
We're definitely not.
Yeah. Okay, so for the preparation piece, so it really depends on the stream itself. So some of the stuff, so it depends on who's going to be on the stream, who's going to be presenting most of the information. So like we've done like the smallest streams, to be fair, the one that we did on Wednesday, besides having to gather a lot of different information, the information that was actually in it, if you looked, we presented it in like 4 slides in PowerPoint. So it's not like there was a lot of like preparation for that half of it. So like the smallest version of that stream would be is if we were going to present a stream that was largely informational, where I already knew a lot of the information and was intimately familiar with a lot of it, which in this case I actually would have been, except for the changes that we had been making. There would have been minimal preparation. I would have made the PowerPoint, sent it around to the designers, made sure I wasn't lying about anything, and then maybe done some 5-minute conversations with some people to make sure we could address any questions that we assumed would come up, and that would be the end of it. The other spectrum is if we're showing gameplay, like the 510 live stream, that baby took like 3 weeks to put together, of multiple teams, lots of meetings.
Sure.
That thing was a lot bigger.
Right.
That makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense. All right. Well, so I just want to take a minute before we dive into this awesome interview and the rest of the show to thank everybody who participated in SWTOR Unite. Doc SWTOR, thanks, man. I talked about getting all the podcasters together, and you said, well, let's do Gods from the Machine. And then by the end of that conversation, there was a Discord, and all of us podcasters were together in one place, which was pretty special. So a big, giant thanks to Doc, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have done this. To the rest of the players, Max, Seema, Chill, you are a hero and the MVP of the whole show, just because you started a new character on the Starforge with no legacy, no money, and you leveled him, your tune, in 6 weeks and ended up with 245 gear. So hats off to you. Like, that's hard work. That's big. Ted, Brian, we all know Brian. Brian was ready to drop an F-bomb at a moment's notice. So thanks. Sakari, Magic Ace, Marshall, JT, Dekion, thank you. Scrubland Shad, Twitch streamer, thank you. You brought a lot of fun to the conversations. Corley, which is an AIE officer in the guild I'm in, thank you for coming. Intastar, he's a blogger who does something in Arabish. I can't remember the name of his blog, and I'm failing miserably at that. But thank you. And the biggest one is Nick. Thanks for coming, dying a lot at every boss. When a community can come together to do something special is awesome. And then to see, 5 or 6 different streamers come together and then see all the different people from the community watching us people who talk about this game for a night. For 4 hours, mind you. 4 hours and 10 minutes was Doc SWTOR's stream.
That was a long stream.
Yeah, I was tired. 1 o'clock in the morning was...
It was pretty... It came pretty early.
Especially when I got the fuck off from my wife when I got up there because the baby's screaming. And she's like, where have you been all night? Gods from the Machine. Isaac's got us. So thanks to all who watched, who helped make this happen. The community and the game doesn't happen without you. So, Nick, what have you been up to? Keep it light. I want to talk to Eric.
Yeah, I'll be quick. So, this past couple weeks, I've been like 99%... all my free time is Red Dead Redemption 2. And frankly, it's everything I was hoping for and then some. There's so many cool... Besides just like being able to be a cowboy in, the wild, wild west and just do whatever the hell you want, there's some little mechanics that I want to point out that are really cool. Like the map uncovers as you go. So if you go into an area, it's sort of like uncovering the fog on the map, which that's not unique to Red Dead Redemption 2, but it is I think it's a cool little mechanic because the map doesn't seem daunting because you don't really understand the scope of it until you keep riding into some faraway land and you realize, oh, it's really this big. Like I kept finding as I went along, I realized, holy shit, this map is huge. And then I realized again, oh my god, it's even bigger. And then, oh my god, it's even bigger. That's what she said. But
I don't even know what to say.
That was a low-hanging fruit there. The eating food mechanic is challenging, but not like frustratingly so. So in order to keep your health up versus your health cores, so like you have cores for your stats, and then at the actual like levels, the core would be how fast it recovers on its own. So like you can have like full health or 20% health or whatever, but then if you're not getting shot or you're not in combat for a period of time, the rate at which your health comes back varies depending on the level of your quote-unquote core. And what what level your core is at is based on how much food you're eating. Right. So, like, you don't need to eat food and drink food and, drink water or whatever, but it helps you, get your shit back together quickly, which is pretty crucial in fights and stuff. So I think that's pretty cool that that's in the game.
I think that's a little too much.
No, see, I thought so too, and it kind of sounds like it. Like when I was in the tutorial, and I was like, oh boy, like this is going to be annoying to have to keep eating all the time. You don't have to eat that often. Like,
well, I understand.
And you come across food stuff
it's
like
basically
quickly.
You're eating, but it's like eating a health pack.
Yeah,
it's just reviving your health. I get it.
Yeah, it's like one extra step.
Right.
It's like you eat an apple and then you drink your health potion. Boom, your health's back. Whatever. Anyways, so also the fast travel mechanic is pretty cool. It's not, they don't advertise it in the game. There's no like way to do it initially. You have to unlock it after a while. Frankly, I had to Google it, but I didn't feel like I needed to. I just kind of wondered about it and then Googled it. I feel like the horse travel is pretty fast, and it's not like that far away, especially if you get a fast horse. If
you're playing a Wild Wild West game, you should never fast travel.
Yeah, the only thing that I haven't fast traveled yet. I unlocked it, but I haven't done it yet. The only time I think I would ever do it is like if I had to go from like literally one corner to the other.
No,
but I've never. I mean, I'm in chapter 3 and probably like 20 hours in, and I've never fast traveled yet. So I've never felt the need where I'm like, oh god damn it, like. This is going to take forever. It's kind of fun especially because in these this is becoming a little longer than I intended, but the horseback rides are when you have these crazy random encounters and stuff like that too. Like if I wasn't riding my horse, I wouldn't have found like all the Easter eggs that I did.
Right.
I texted you about a few of them. They're pretty cool.
They are cool. I heard there's one with like an alien ship.
Yep, I found that.
And then there's
one where a dude gets absolutely his brain smashed in by his horse by accident, which is funny. There's like a zombie one that I came across that was pretty cool. I didn't tell you about that.
Well, the zombie, there's going to be a zombie mode. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, the first one they had the whole zombie DLC, but this is just like a little.
It's all coming.
Side reference.
I mean, it's all coming. It's already in the game.
I'm sure. So besides Red Dead Redemption,
I got some stuff to talk about Red Dead.
Oh, okay.
Questions.
Sorry. Yeah.
Don't you have to feed your horse too?
Yes. But
your horse can fucking die.
Yeah, but you can revive it.
Like compressions?
No, but that would be cool. Well, for me, because, I do that in real life too. But no, there's like a horse reviver potion that you like stab it with, basically. Like it's a syringe or something.
Oh.
Well, at least I've never had to use it because my horse hasn't
died yet. So it's
an
EpiPen.
It's basically, it's like an EpiPen type of deal. All of the medicine things you can give your horse, there's like a health pack or a stamina up or whatever. You can you inject it to your horse. And there's cocaine gum you can take for yourself. And there's a horse stimulant, which I'm assuming is probably also cocaine. Which I thought that was kind of funny.
Cocaine!
Exactly. I thought that was pretty funny. I was like, wow, that's just right on the nose. They're not no hiding it at all.
Well, no, that's the way it was back then.
I know. They thought it was good for you. It's crazy.
Well, it was a medicine.
Right.
Back then.
So, besides anything else for Red Dead?
No.
Besides Red Dead, I got roped into SWTOR Unite at the last second.
Well, you didn't. Okay.
No, hold on. I volunteered, but cautioned the crew.
No. You didn't. No, you volunteered. You're like, oh, I absolutely am coming, and I want to hang out and chat and just hang out with all the podcasters and everybody else.
Right.
Just hang out.
Yeah, in the voice chat and be a part of it. But I'm horrible at ops and knew that going into it. So I was like, I'm not going to participate in the op. You guys have a full roster. I'll let you do that. I'll just hang out in the voice chat and be a part of SWTOR Unite. I'm part of the podcast. I should be involved. So that was what I had signed up for.
And then Max signed you up for something else.
Yes, and something else entirely. And I honestly, it was the most fun I've had in a game in a long time. And I know Marcus wants to talk more about it, so that's all I'll say for now. Marcus, what's been exciting in your neck of the woods?
Baby. So I'm back to work, which I think I've been back to work for a little while now. Mm-hmm. But it's just, everything is such a blur. I haven't slept much.
Yep.
But I've decided some things. I've been playing my smuggler. Mm-hmm. I think I'm level 33 now. And yes, everybody listening to this, yes, it's taken me a long time to get my smuggler to level 33. But I'm only playing an hour a night, if that, on my laptop at my Peninsula, just because, the baby and everything. But what I'm going to say is, I've decided that I'm not buying any more video games.
Yeah, because you never play them.
No, I play them.
Oh, sorry. You don't play him for an extended period of time.
No, I play them twice.
Yeah, like Red Dead.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Now we're Greek.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of my Greek heritage.
Yeah.
Heritage. And,
yeah.
And I love it. I haven't touched it since the second time I played it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I got everybody. The hype train was real about Red Dead Redemption.
Right.
I bought it. I played it twice. And haven't turned it back on. Okay? And then I was like, oh, I'll buy the guidebooks, and that'll keep me interested. Nope. Done.
Yeah.
So then there's a new MMO that came out called Maple Story 2 that it's like cartoony.
I loved the first Maple Story. I should get into this.
Yeah, you probably really would like this game.
Yeah.
It's completely free on Steam.
Yeah.
And so I created a character.
Yep.
And that was the first time I played it because baby.
Yeah.
And then I actually played it. Yeah.
That's it.
Nothing. So I've completely decided that, if I told my wife, if I'm going to go buy another video game, just slap me. Because I'm not going to play it. Unless it's like a Mortal Kombat or like a car racing game or like a first-person shooter where I can like play 2 or 3 matches.
And like get off.
Yep.
Yeah, but like big story-driven stuff, you're not good for because you already have a game in that role. That's so clever.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And
if you're gonna get a second game, it's got to be your quick in and out game.
Quick in and out game.
A Call of Duty, a racing game, exactly.
Right. And on a sidebar, I read something today, and I don't know how true it is. Battlefield 5 is coming out next week, and I guess deep down somewhere in the game program, EA is hiding the pay to win.
Oh, like loot boxes and stuff.
I don't know what it is, but I guess it's like it's there.
Yeah.
And it's the worst they've ever seen it, but EA has just been silent and said it's not there. They haven't even said it's not there. They haven't said it is there. They've just said nothing, and they're just going to wait. Once the game comes out and everybody buys it, then they're going to be like, boom. Here's the thing, and I've been thinking a lot about these microtransactions.
Mm-hmm.
If we keep bitching about pay to win, all we're going to get is shit fucking mobile games for the rest of our lives. We're not going to get any AAA games because nobody's going to invest money into a AAA game that the game ends.
Right, yeah.
Where these fucking junk mobile games, people are spending, on average in Japan, each mobile game, each average Japanese
mobile game player
spending $23 a person on a mobile game.
That's crazy.
That's a lot of money.
Hell yeah.
On a mobile fucking game. Candy Crush, fucking whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. But that was my little sidebar. So, as I said in the beginning of the show, thanks to everybody for SOTOR Unite, but I just want to dive in a little bit. Mm-hmm. So we made it happen. We got it all together. We needed a couple subs. A couple people couldn't make it, which I understand. We had so much goddamn fun. We ran for 4 hours, which I mentioned earlier. And Nick came along. He got roped in by Max because he's like, you're here, you're coming. And I was about to say, dude, I don't know.
I said that.
I know.
I was happily in the chat, on like our Discord voice chat, I should say, talking to everybody beforehand, before they started. Hey, happy to be here. This is so cool. Blah blah blah. Chiming in on the banter and making fun of people getting made fun of. The usual. Then they go through Tithe. Tithe's the first fight, right? Mm-hmm. Go through Tithe, and they only have 15 people. They're waiting for one more person, and it turns up that that person couldn't be there. It happens. And, I was trying to talk in the chat and stuff like that on Dr. SOTOR's live stream. So I was like, staying involved. And then, Max was like,
You're coming.
You're a podcaster. You're on Working Class Nerds. You should be involved in this. I'm like, well, I am involved. He's like, no, just get in the 16th slot. Like, you're signed into SOTOR. I'm like, oh God. It's like, are you sure? I'm really bad at this. Like, not only, for clarity, I've done half of Terror from Beyond. The second half, that was the first time I ever did an op ever in my whole life, which I've talked about that in the show before. And then I ran EV
2 times.
Oh, twice. Eternity Vault I did twice ever. And the first time I died because I fell off the thing in front of Soa or something.
And then you hadn't played the game for like a month and a half because you were playing Spider-Man.
Hold on. I had not played the game in so long, my subscription ran out, and I had to resubscribe while the show was happening.
Oh, it's terrible.
It is terrible. But, like, well, that could have been, I don't know when that ran out, but because I had like a 60-day or 90-day sub or something. But, anyways, I've been playing forever, and I have, like, my highest piece of gear is, like, 238 or something. I don't know. I think my overall gear rating was, like, a 233, and we're playing Gods of the Machine.
Yep.
I'm like, I was talking about, like, a fish out of water, or really getting thrown into the wolf's nest, as Marcus says.
Either way, it was such a successful event, and to hear the podcasters afterwards and everybody talk about it on their shows. Ted gave you a funny thing. He's like, Nick did a great job dying at every boss, and it was so true. But
I died at every single boss and in between. I said this before, but yeah. I died a ton, and it was funny because people in the chat were like making fun of me, like, "Oh, let's see how many times Nick dies at this boss." Or,
but you weren't the first to die.
And
everybody thought I was going to die first, and it was Ted.
Yeah.
Ted died first, and it's because he fell off the platform. See you later. It's a long way down. Yeah. But either way, we had so much fun doing it.
It was awesome.
Yep. Hopefully we can do it again sometime. If all this sounds fun to you, go to aie-guild.org, get our Discord information, and jump in the SOTOR channel and ask for a guild invite. We're over there on the Starforge server, and an officer should be able to get you in, and you can come play SOTOR with us, or any of the other games that the guild plays. We would love to have you.
Wait, so who's an officer? Would that be Dent that you got to talk to?
Oh, shit! We just got 2 new officers.
Really?
Yeah, so there was a lull where there was no new officers, and then all of a sudden me and Dent became officers, and now all of a sudden our rookie spotlight is over, so congratulations to Zen and B. Kavanaugh. Welcome, and we're sorry.
Sorry for all the...
Well, no, because now they actually have to do work.
Oh, yeah.
Like you become an officer because there's a role that needs to be filled.
Right.
And now you got a job.
Yeah, now you got to participate more actively.
I think I have the best job, though, as the officer, because all I have to do is talk.
Oh, you're the cheerleader. That's exactly right. That you bark. Yeah, you're like, I just pump people up. I get people excited about the game, and
but you had to use a
exactly like a cheerleader.
Do you know how bad male cheerleaders are? I mean, like that's just like,
dude, they're the most important parts. They hold up the girls for their crazy formations that they do, and they hold the megaphones. That's all you have to say about that.
Mm-hmm. Nick, you want to take a break?
Yes, we'll be right back. And we're back. So today we're going to be interviewing Eric Musco, the Senior Community Manager for Star Wars The Old Republic. He's a BioWare employee, and as everyone knows, he hosts a lot of live streams that give you info for Star Wars The Old Republic.
And he types a real lot.
He types a ton.
Can you imagine how long it would take me to type the stuff he types?
No, even with the fastest 2 fingers in Western Mass, it'd still take you a couple hours.
I'm not that fast either, don't worry.
So, first question we have is just a little bit of background info. So how does someone like yourself become the Senior Community Manager for SOTOR?
I like how you got the senior in there.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. He's not just the community manager. He's the senior.
Well,
that's right. I've ascended.
Yeah.
You might say. So that's a good question. I will tell you, just as an anecdote to that question, one of my favorite things to talk to anyone about in the game industry is how they got into the game industry. Because what you'll find is that no one got into it the same way. Like everyone just has these crazy stories of how they got there, which to be fair, mine's relatively boring, but like everyone always has really cool stories. So always ask that question of anyone that you talk to in the game industry, because you'll always get weird stuff. My background is in graphic design and marketing. My degree was in graphic design. And so I always had, like most people that like us nerds that we always like, man, I would love to work in the game industry.
Mm-hmm.
But I never really locked down like what I actually wanted to do in the game industry. And then right when SWTOR got announced, a friend of mine, Sam, and we decided, like, he always wanted to run a website and I always wanted to do podcasting because I love podcasting. And so we started a fan site. We actually started, I think it's technically the first original Star Wars: The Old Republic fan site and podcast. And we did that for about a little over a year. And during that time, I got to know tons of people at BioWare. It was a cool networking opportunity, especially to be just like this, like to get to know a lot of the community people. And so then after about, 10 or 11 months of that, I realized, man, I might be able to actually do community work for BioWare, like on SWTOR. That's amazing. Like I had figured out what my dream job might be. And so I started applying for a whole ton of jobs. That's a whole other long story, but eventually I got one of them. I decided to, at the time, it was just a contract position. I was only really guaranteed to be employed by BioWare for a year, but I decided it was worth the risk. So I packed up what would fit in my car plus my dog and drove from Pennsylvania to Austin, Texas. And
wow.
Rest is kind of history. I kind of just worked my way up through the team over a few years. And here I am today.
The best part is you said Pennsylvania. So
that's right.
That's a big change from Pennsylvania to Texas.
Oh boy, it sure is. There's no seasons here at all. Like it's hot, really hot, and torrential downpour. It's all I got. That's it. Nothing else.
That's awesome.
Well, we don't have that. We have all.
We have
all four, and it's fucking snowing right now.
I know. I mean, you guys are getting killed right now.
Yeah, it's bad. Driving over to Marcus's house, but
I miss snow. Oh, I miss snow. I miss fall too. I miss them. I do.
Yes. So when roughly was that you became community manager of SWTOR?
I think it was probably about 5 years ago now, 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay, so like relatively shortly after the game's release.
Yeah. So I started in September of 2011. The game launched in December of 2011, and I think I became community manager around I don't know, maybe June 2013 or something.
Okay.
I should look at my own LinkedIn. I don't even know my own work history, but.
Well, right. Speaking of LinkedIn, what does being a community manager entail? Or maybe better yet, so if we went to LinkedIn and typed in the job description for you, what is your job?
Oh man, what is it that you say you do here?
Yeah.
Man, that's a challenging question to answer. And the only reason I say it's challenging is because I do a little bit more than just what a community manager does, but I'll talk about the community manager part. So, the basics of what a community manager does in my mind, what my job role is effectively to be a bridge between the players and the development team. So any traffic that goes across the lanes, like if there's two land masses, one is players, one is developers, my job is to always be that bridge. So anything going between them effectively goes through my desk. I'm using air quotes. And so it's doing live streams, communicating with podcasters, doing interviews, making forum posts, writing blogs, reviewing things like press releases, and anything that goes to players, I want to review from that side. And then on the flip side, it's also working to gather feedback from players, listening to podcasts, looking at forum posts, Reddit posts, looking at, when we do user focus tests, gathering data from that and kind of filtering all that information and passing it back to the dev team to help facilitate change for stuff that's coming in the future. So without being super in the weeds of what my 8-hour day looks like, that's kind of just the general high level of what a community manager does.
You guys work 8 hours?
No. That's a good one.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, because I don't know anybody that works 8 hours a day.
No, game. I mean, and obviously, I don't think I have to tell you guys, game industry is notorious for people working far more than 8 hours. But I mean, the thing is, and this is the truth of it, everyone that I'm surrounded with on the SWTOR team loves their job and loves working. I'd be like, my dream was to work on Star Wars: The Old Republic, and so I'm doing it. And so I don't care. I don't really care that much how many hours I put in. It's fun. It's a fun job.
All right. Well, speaking of bridging the community from the developers to us, what's the difference of being the senior community manager under Ben Irving,
sure,
versus Keith Koenig now? What's it like on your end? Because there has to be a clear difference because, driving a Ford versus a Chevy, it's still a car, but they both drive completely different. Yeah,
man, that's such a good question. And I know there's probably some loaded for bear behind it, because I know that to the community, Ben may not be everyone's favorite person for reasons. So there's two elements to it that that I can talk about. So one is Keith is my boss. Keith has been my boss for probably like 4 years. So even when I was community manager under Ben, Keith was still my boss at the time. So there is a little bit of a difference between when Ben was producer on SWTOR versus Keith, because Keith is also my boss. So there's a little bit of a difference there. So the thing is, and this isn't necessarily just specific to Ben and Keith, but this is true of any producer, because I was community manager during Jeff Hickman and also during Bruce, Bruce McLean, is that every producer is always going to come in and have a different idea of what some of the best ways might be to communicate to players.
Yeah.
And that's not to say, and before anyone gets concerned, that doesn't in any way mean that they're dictating how we communicate to players, right? Like ultimately that's what I'm there for. But just as an example, like if you look, when Ben was producer, we did an enormous amount of live streams. Mm-hmm. Enormous. We were doing like bi-weekly or weekly, monthly. I don't even remember anymore, but it was a lot. Because Ben really felt that was a really good way to put himself and Charles and myself kind of really out there, put faces to names, really humanize who we were. I mean, we were giving at minimum monthly updates of what players could expect to come to the game. And that's a lot. Like that's a lot of really recurring communication. Mm-hmm. And so that's really where Ben kind of favored some of the communication that we did. Whereas if you look on the flip side, like you look at Keith, I think Keith's face has only been on camera on a stream maybe twice since he's been producer. Because that's not really his thing, right? Like Keith really likes to sit in the back. He has a lot of trust. He has a lot of trust in me because he's been my boss for a while. And so he kind of is like, you know what? I think you and Charles should really just go handle some of the forward-facing streams and a lot of that stuff. And obviously we've moved away from doing as many live streams. We kind of focus a lot more on like core, posting in the forums and really engaging with people there. And so it's kind of just changed. I think that's really been the biggest impact between those two guys, is really just how they like to approach the way that we communicate to players.
Sure. I personally love it when Keith comes on the stream because he's so excited that he wants to tell us things that you guys don't want us to know. And that's the best part, or that's the premise that we get.
It's so true. It is so true. I was joking the other day. It's so weird that like my job is to communicate to players. Like really all I should want ever is to tell you guys everything always. And like sometimes I find myself being like, Keith, you can't say that. You can't do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then I walk away from his desk and I'm like, man, I feel like I'm on the wrong side of this one. Like, what is going on?
So we got to ask, do you have time to play SWTOR 2? I mean, it would be pretty reasonable if you don't have time. You're obviously super busy, with all the behind-the-scenes stuff. But we got to ask, do you find time in your busy schedule to get on there and play as well?
Yeah, so there's two parts to that. So which by the way, I feel like I've said there's two parts to every answer that I've given so far. So I think I'm just giving 2-part answers all interview.
Perfectly fine with us.
Well, it's the BioWare employee answer and the Eric Musco answer.
Man, you literally figured out exactly what I was going to say. Okay, so we as a SWTOR team, we actually have scheduled time on the dev team to play on the live servers.
That's so awesome.
Every week, everyone is playing SWTOR. So I know there's a lot of people like, they don't even play their own game. Be like, no, I can tell you, like I can point to every employee's calendar where there is time every week where they're playing the game.
That's really cool.
So that's part of it.
So why not tell us? So why not just throw a post out on the forums that says, hey, just so you know, I'm playing on the Starforge right now, and let us all know.
Yeah, so 2 parts to that.
Jumping the gun, Marcus.
Too good. No, so there are actually 2 things to that. One, it's we have some policies that we have where we can't really expose who we are on the live game for a lot of for security reasons and
of course,
things.
Yes.
So we have to be cautious of that. But aside from that, and you guys will know this, like you guys have been on the internet, right? Like we've said this before. This isn't the first time that we've said that we do this, but if I made a post, I'm hypothesizing, but if I went on the forums and said basically this, right? Like, hey, we're playing all the time. And I said that as an argument to kind of counter someone saying that we don't play the game.
Right.
The very first thing would be someone quoting me and calling BS on it.
Right.
Like someone would be like, sure you do. Right. And so it's one of those things where we can claim that we play the game, but if someone doesn't believe that we play it, that's fine. Like they're entitled to their opinion. They can believe that. But
that's true.
So we played at web, so I played at work quite a bit. Obviously, there's plenty of play tests where we'll do internal full dev team play tests of future content. So I played OSIS. I played it the first time, I don't know, two months, etc. I played it X amount of time ago. I don't even remember anymore. And then I've done, there's been some subsequent play tests. So there's definitely some like behind the scenes, non on the Starforged, play tests that we'll do.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of all of that, I do still try to play SWTOR at least once a week if I can, just to try to, I got to check on my auctions.
That's such bullshit.
I spent a
I'm
lot.
Sorry, I'm calling you out.
See? Man, you guys got it. You guys got it.
Well, it's your job. So,
yes.
So trying to play...
Like at home when you're trying to just relax. We totally get it if you don't. And frankly, you don't have to say on here. But...
Well, yeah, but, even if you do for an hour because you're in the GTN, you guys blame everybody for the economy, but it's you guys that are raising all the prices on us.
Right.
Making things cost 500 million credits,
hey,
and I don't even have 5.
I'm making bank, man.
Yeah, you're making me poor.
Bank.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, so I mean, here's the thing, because you make a good point. I can't dispute that. Like, what I do most of the time when I play is one of two things: either I play the GTN because I find that fun. I do it every MMO I've ever played. I just have fun playing the markets and stuff. So I play a lot. I do a lot. Also, I'm like a really avid mount collector. So I have like at least 90% plus of all the mounts that have ever been in the game.
How do you not have them all?
Some of them are really, really hard to get. Also, I don't have like Wings of the Architect and stuff. I've been too cheap to like pay for a run to get it because I'm not.
Wait, you can pay for a run?
Have you never? People sell that kind of stuff all the time.
What?
Really?
Wait, so all right, you probably don't know. So Brontes and I have this like special like connection, and I don't know, maybe it's her voice, maybe it's the wings. And I go on Fleet, and there'll be people floating around with those wings, and I just stand there and stare at it going, why do I suck so bad at this game that I can't do that? I do ops 3 nights a week, and I can't even figure it out.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can't point you anywhere, but I can tell you that some like top-end guilds historically have sold runs to things like rare mounts and drops.
Well, if they actually listen to this podcast, which we know they don't, but if you listening to this, find me. I want that mount. I will pay what it costs.
You say that. Those are dangerous words. Those are dangerous.
Well,
when they're like 150 million.
Well, yeah, but don't forget, I only have 10 million credits. I mean, I'm
I'll
poor.
pay whatever you want if it's 10 million or less.
Exactly. So going into the video game, what is your favorite video game of all time? Well, you can say top 3 because I have top 3.
No, sure. So no hesitation. My immediate answer is Diablo. If you were going to ask me to pick which Diablo, that would be harder. But Diablo is definitely my favorite IP of all time, without question.
Wow,
that's awesome.
I did not expect that.
I didn't.
What did you think I was going to say?
I don't know.
I was thinking like Mario Kart, or something like Generation. Well, I guess Diablo's really old. Too.
Well, some of the old, the original Diablo is pretty old.
And Diablo 2 is old. So.
I don't know why I was entirely surprised that it would be an MMO. Like, what the hell did I expect?
Yeah, I'm just blown away by that answer. Wow. So
what else makes your top 3?
So what's the next?
What else comes to mind? I should say.
Okay, yeah. So I love ARPGs, which is why Diablo crushes that. I'm obviously a huge RPG fan in general, so definitely something from the Final Fantasy series. Probably Final Fantasy Tactics is my favorite Final Fantasy of all time because I'm a big JRPG player as well, so I love JRPGs in general. So probably Final Fantasy Tactics would break the top 3. Man, the third one though, that's hard. What is the third one?
What's your? I mean, for me, I like RPGs too, obviously, but I like to have like an RPG and then something that's a lot like mindless, like something like a Call of Duty or something like that.
Yeah, sure. So I think my mindless comes with like I play a lot of mobile games.
Okay. Yeah.
As a thing, and like not like actively, like I like download a game, play it for 3 days, and then I uninstall it, and then I repeat that cycle endlessly. So I think that's where like my just passive mindless video game play comes in.
So your favorite game is Diablo, and you play a lot on mobile. So how fucking pumped are you for Diablo Immortal?
Man, did I set myself up for that?
Yeah, you did.
Yes, you did.
You should have seen Marcus's face there.
Dude, funny aside, one of the things that always amuses me, like I'm a community manager. There isn't a lot of things that are super relevant for other people to talk to me about as inside of BioWare that are like part of my trade. Like there's not a lot like designers, people, toss ideas off of each other and stuff. But
Sure.
No one's come to. I can always tell when something big has happened when like throughout the day, just a large number of people are coming past my desk being like, did you see what happened at insert, like in this case, it'd be BlizzCon, right? People are like, did you see what happened at BlizzCon? What do you think about what happened at BlizzCon? So here's what I will say. I had a feeling it was not going to be Diablo 4 announced at BlizzCon, especially once they came out and did the like de-hype blog post ahead of it. Like right. That's textbook. I've been there of telling people that they need that the hype train's gone too far. They need to calm it down. I do think that I don't disagree with players that they probably made some missteps by not saying anything else other than Diablo Immortal. But I'm sure there's very good reason why they did. I just don't know what they are because I don't work there. But I mean, that being said, as much as I would rather have something like a D2 remaster, another Diablo game on PC like a Diablo 4, I'm obviously gonna play Diablo Immortal because I will play any Diablo game. It does like if they make Diablo Puzzle Quest, I will play it. I have to. It's Diablo. I think I have bought probably the last like 3 WoW expansions just to get the Diablo item. Like I didn't even open them in BNet. I haven't played WoW in a long time, but I got to have the mini pets or the wings or whatever else they make me pay for.
You like it that much?
I do. I really do love Diablo. I'm hesitant to open the game and see how many hours I have played, even just in Diablo 3, because it's going to be a scary number.
Nick, have you ever played a mobile game?
Yeah, of course.
I can't fucking do it. Maybe it's my hands are too big. Like I can't control. Like I tried one of the games and I just am like no.
But the question is, what are you trying to play? Because that's the thing, right? Like if you're trying, like I actually don't like ARPGs on mobile at all. As much as they're my favorite genre of game, like I've played tons of them. I don't like any of them, so I don't know that I'll even like Immortal. But like download like Trivia Crack and play that, and then see if because you'd be surprised. Like you'll be like, "This is dumb. I'll download it," and then like you're like, "I've been playing this game for 4 hours. What happened?"
Yeah, especially if it's like you and your wife or something, or like me and my girlfriend will play Trivia Crack. Just go back and forth, like, fuck you. It's like I did get that question right.
Yep.
What's your girlfriend's name?
Mariana. She's the best girlfriend in the whole world.
That's right. Yeah. If you can shit talk each other in any context, destined for success.
Yeah. It's way better.
Awesome.
So, Eric, I know you got married recently, right?
Yeah, I got married in April.
Congratulations. So, congratulations, first of all.
Thank you.
So we gotta ask, how does the wife feel about the 1 a.m. replies on the SWTOR forums?
So. The nice thing is, I mean, we've been together for over 5 years. So the funny thing is, my wife is not a nerd at all. Like, she doesn't play video games. I don't even know if she had seen Star Wars prior to us dating, but she loves Star Wars now. Wife. Yeah, she loves Star Wars now. She's cool with it. And we're going to see Fantastic Beasts tomorrow. Like, I drag her to nerd things, and she's definitely gotten into it to some degree. But she's not a big gamer. She doesn't play games with me or anything. She's not into that stuff. So like when we first started dating, it was definitely interesting for me, to even explain what I do. To explain to someone what a community manager does who doesn't follow gaming at all. Like it's kind of a very gaming focused job role. Like social media jobs exist now, which are like in that vein, but like pure community management really only largely exists in the game industry. So it took a while for her to understand what my job was. And then over time, she just started to see some of it. And for the nice thing is like, if I'm posting at 1 a.m., it's probably because like a server went down or something. And so at least in that case, like my phone will go off, I pick it up, she looks over at me, groans, and then rolls back over and goes to sleep. And then I leave the room and she never knows anything else happened. So
that's the best.
Largely it's not too disruptive. Disruptive.
Do you have people who work with you on the community team, or are you pretty much just floating around through the galaxy solo?
Yes and no. So currently, I do not have anyone else that works as specifically community team on SWTOR. That being said, for anyone who has watched the internet, we had a job listing up for someone, community coordinator, to work on SWTOR, and we've hired that person, and they'll be starting towards the end of November. So
what's their name?
I don't know if I can tell you that yet.
Is it a guy or a girl?
I don't know if I can tell you that yet either.
That's terrible. Nobody will know. I mean, come on.
That's true. Yeah,
it's just us three.
It's just us three.
Just us friends here.
Yeah.
So when they come on, I'll have some help. But outside of that, of just specifically on the community team, I have a lot of people who do help with things, right? So like we have people on the marketing team who will help with social media work and some of that stuff. We have web team, which helps with our publishing of things. The development team actually often helps write a lot of the forum posts that I make, where either in some cases they'll like literally write a forum post and send it to me and go rewrite it to make it make sense. But like, here's all the information. Keith helps with a bunch of stuff on that side as well, and some of the other people in the that work on live production on SWTOR. So, I mean, even though I am a one-man community team, there's definitely a village surrounding me of people who help with kind of everything. So,
sure. Who controls the Twitter account?
Who controls the Twitter account? Me, mostly.
So you do all of the social media stuff too?
Mostly, yes. I don't do most of the writing of posts, but I do most of the publishing of it.
Okay.
That makes sense. Kind of like the final okay before it goes out.
Yeah, and that's true of a lot of things. That to go back to my bridge analogy from like 3 hours ago when I made it, like my desk is kind of the last one that comes across. Like I'm kind of the gatekeeper of stuff that goes out to the players. So if something goes out to you guys and it's wrong, 100% my fault.
Right. That makes sense.
Unless it's wrong, and then it's definitely not my fault.
We got to get Keith to talk more.
I know.
We got to start. We got to hashtag Keith on every live stream or something.
Oh my god, it's so funny every time. Like, man, when we were going into the Wednesday live stream, Charles and I had talked about we're like, hey, are we in a place yet that we think we're comfortable telling people the exact launch date? Like we knew we were going to say early December. We didn't know if we were going to give the exact date. And so Charles and I were both like, well, let's find Keith and see if he wants to make that call before we head in or whatever. And so then we get to the stream because I hadn't seen Keith all morning. I just didn't think he was going to come to the stream because I know he was in meetings a lot on Wednesday. And then we go to do the stream and he just walks into the room right as we're going live, which we were dealing with stupid internet issues at the time. And so he was like, he's just trying to do his wave. And then he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to go be back at my desk and chat. And I didn't even know he was going to be in stream. So I joked with him afterwards. I'm like, Keith, I'm real proud of you. You didn't put out the release date since we didn't put it out. You also didn't do it. And he just smirks. Like you have the stories that I could tell you guys, like Keith is genuinely probably the biggest troll I have ever met in real life. Like he's so funny to work around and he just finds every opportunity to mess with people.
That's the best.
Awesome. So I got to ask then, what made you pick Working Class Nerds as the outlet through which you're going to tell everybody the release date?
You know, I mean,
5.10.
you guys are top notch. Just top. I might even say toppest of the notches.
Wow.
if I can be so bold as to say that.
Well, thank you so much.
It's a shame that we have to edit that out of the podcast, but
yeah, right. Well, maybe the director's cut someday.
But in December when 510's out, you can be like, look, he told us.
See, we had the inside info.
We had it the whole time.
Wait, I didn't hear a date. Wait, where did I have lag? Wait, it must be there. Are you in the BioWare office? Is there lag?
Yes, right. And then every time someone asks, just be like, no, you must admit, just go back and listen to the whole podcast again, start to finish. It's there, we promise.
Just keep trying. Yeah. I think it's after the fifth listen, it unlocks and you get to hear it. Yep. So what I was really going to ask, what do you like the most about Star Wars: The Old Republic?
What do I like most about, as just the game?
Yeah. What's your favorite part of the game?
Oh my god. I mean, I get to go be whatever I want in Star Wars. Without question. That's easily the answer. Also Kai Zykin, but that's like a second.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. No, it has to be that, right? That's the whole. To me, that's always been the coolest thing about MMOs specifically. I'm not. I play Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. I play tabletop role playing, but I'm not into role playing when it comes to video games, really. But that doesn't mean that I still remember when SWTOR first came out, and I was working at BioWare. Me and Courtney Woods. I don't know if you guys remember Courtney Woods from the community team back in the day. She and I used to every weekend we would go to lunch and we were both playing through the agent story, and so we would just sit down and compare notes of oh, here's what my agent did and talk about stuff and so I was learning at the same time that she was of like the variance in how like the acts will end depending on decisions that you make and some of the stuff. And it was really cool to me to talk about like, this is how I've been playing the game as an agent in Star Wars. And she's talking about it, having a completely different experience than I am, even though we're playing the exact same class in the exact same game. And I just thought that's always been the coolest thing to me.
Well, just going with that, what's your favorite class to play?
Concealment operative. It's
Marcus has one class that rules them all for him.
Which is what is that?
Well, so no, let me. All right, so you hear me talk. What class do you think I play the most?
What class?
And just think, stereotypical wild man.
Smuggler?
Nope.
That's a great answer, though. See, that's the first thing I thought of when you said stereotypical wild man.
Or bounty hunter, right? Like it should be one of those two.
Marauder all the way.
Okay, sure. For the Sith Warrior makes sense.
Yeah. You said if you had clarified like you were a Force user, I think that might have steered him.
It would have narrowed it down. It wouldn't have been great if I was like Jedi Consular and you'd been like, have you played this video game like at all?
So what is the biggest piece of news that you gave the SWTOR community over all these years that got the most positive response that you're the most proud of? Like, as an example, you posted something and the uproar was so happy, and you went home that day and you were like, wow, that was an awesome day.
Man, that's a super good question.
And I'm going to guess there's two parts to it.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. Obviously, I'm going to answer this in two parts. Wow, man, that's such a good question. I feel like it's bad that I don't have an immediate answer to it either.
Oh, you can have a top couple that you might come to mind.
No, there's got to be one. There has to be one memory that you have of something that you wrote to the people, and everybody was just like, "Holy shit, thank you." Silence. Mike, like the mic drop.
Well, so man, and this is why this is hard to answer. Is that like part of what my job role is when I'm making posts and working with the team on how we're going to deliver information is that for the most part, we have a pretty good expectation of how players are going to react to it, right? Like when we post something and players are real mad about it, or, that there's some unhappiness and everyone's like, how could they have not known this was going to be the case? Like we knew that was going to be the case. Like sometimes we have to sometimes we make changes that are good for the health of the game that we know may frustrate players a little bit. Like we know that that's true. And so what's hard about this is like things that players celebrate, I theoretically would have already expected that they were going to celebrate. So I'm trying to think of an example. Like there's definitely been things that I've had to do where we've tried to like abate concerns or something that we knew were there by delivering positive news, around the time of something else. And I'm trying to think of like if there's an example of somewhere where we did that and I got a better reaction. Like I know it has to have happened that I've gotten a better reaction than expected somewhere. But man, I am super stumped on.
I'm actually shocked.
It's such a good question though.
We can circle back.
No, we can't. Like there has to be something.
There has to be, right? Like there has to be. Well, let me ask it this. Let me ask you a question. Is there anything you can think of that we've done in the way we've communicated that you feel like was something that we did that was highly celebrated? Something unexpected that we did that was highly celebrated.
Marcus, I can see the gears turning in Marcus's head.
Well, it's a two-part answer.
Perfect.
Let's go. So there's my own personal opinion.
Sure.
And then the opinion of the guild, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So the immediate thing for me is when you guys announced Gods from the Machine, and it was going to be one boss at a time. And everybody around me was like, one boss at a time. I've been playing this game 4 years. And I'm like, fucking suck it up. One boss is fucking great. We're going to be able to complete an op and then go do another one in the same night and work on this stupid gear grind to CXP level 300. Shut up. And then,
I almost spit my tea out. Great, thank you. Carry on.
No problem. But it was such a great... It made me so happy. And then when you guys... The best was when you posted a picture. See, this is my moment, right?
Yeah.
When you posted a picture of Tithe and then they fucking put a picture of you next to Tithe to show how big Tithe is, it was the fucking funniest thing in the world. And I guess that's my moment.
Yeah.
For
That's
the
good.
guild, so for the guild, see, I'm a passionate guy. I'm trying to think. So the guild, I think it's when the guild change, not the guild changes, the conquest changes were coming. People were nervous. And then I remember in chat, people were like, well, I don't know. Oh, we can't craft this invasion force. And then immediately, that end of the week, I think we hit medium yield and everybody was on board. Everybody's like, wow, it doesn't matter about top 10 anymore. We can do this. And ever since that day, our guild has just become this conquest-focused guild that's earning large yield on one side and small on the other side every week. And they're grinding. Even one of our guildies, B. Kavanaugh, he made this crazy conquest calculator. And it's fucking nuts. And I think that was the point for me.
For the guild.
For the guild.
They really had a good reaction to something they put out.
That's good. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So in recent memory for me, and I think again, my examples are probably bad because I think they're places that I thought there would be positive reaction, but I underestimated the positive reaction.
Well, you get the fucking trolls on trolls on trolls. Like I watch stream and I'd call everybody out. Like all the trolls on stream, like shut the fuck up. Like
it's
how many, and I see. I don't work for BioWare, so I can just be as brutally honest as I need to be. Like, how many times does somebody need to type the word desync? I don't even know what the fuck desync is in chat, right? Like, I don't even know what it is. But clearly, if you're gonna type it 1,000 times, I've never even heard the word except in chat, and a few other people mention it. So, like, who cares?
Right. Yeah,
nobody else is complaining about it, so we're not going there.
No, I mean, but in those situations though, like that's part of the job. But you take that out of the equation, right? Like there's some mental gymnastics you have to do when you're a community manager. I think honestly, if you work in the game industry at all, right? Like this isn't exclusive to community managers, even though it's my job to deal with it. Everyone has to deal with it. Is that like, because even though this can be used as a cop out for people who want to be real crappy to other people on the internet, I do believe that it is also true in that people who get real nasty on the internet do it from a place of passion, in that they're passionate about the project because they like it. They wouldn't. No one's going to come watch a SWTOR stream if they actually hate the game. That doesn't make any sense. No one's going to waste their time, right?
I say that shit all the time.
So if you're going to come to a stream and you're just going to dump on whatever we're doing the whole time, it's because you're frustrated with what we're doing. Now, granted, I don't think that's the best way of using your time, but it's your time. You use it as you see fit, and so that's okay. And I mean, like for things
Such
like
a community manager answer.
Yeah, but it's true. But I mean, like, and for things like desync, right? Like this is one of the things I've always struggled with personally as a community manager. Is I do not like the concept of if me as part of my job is just kind of doing the like. Posting all over the place on the forums. Hey, yeah, great thread. And I provide no meaning to it other than like putting yellow words in there. And it's because for me, like if I'm not going to provide something that's meaningful, like if I'm not going to provide an answer, at least saying that we've captured it and passing it on to the team, like if I'm not providing something meaningful to a conversation, I don't feel like me being there is providing value. Like short term, I think it would be great for people to be like, oh man, look how active he is everywhere. But then after like a week of me doing that, they'd be like, okay, literally he's just saying words and nothing's happening. What is he doing all day? So with issues like desync, it's tricky because like we've talked about what we've said with desync as an example, right, is like we're aware that there's concerns about desync happening, especially in the new war zone, and we're looking at ways we could potentially address it. Something like that is systemic inside of the game, and so it's not a simple fix. So it's nothing coming short term. And we said that on numerous occasions. But people keep asking because they keep asking for updates. And so it's kind of one of those things of like either I have to provide constant updates that are non-answers, which aren't really very rewarding for anybody, or I have to say nothing, which also can be not rewarding for anybody. So it's,
Yeah, you're in a tough spot.
It's toss-ups.
I'm going to go back to this question. What is the piece of news that gave the community over the years that got the most positive response?
The most positive response of anything we've ever done?
Yeah, for you. Yeah. Again, I'm going back to this question that you went home and you were like, wow, today was a great day.
Okay, so there's two things that I thought of while you were talking. I was leveraging you to buy time for myself.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we weren't letting you go of this.
Yeah, of course. No, I appreciate that. So the one that and again, in my case, for context, these are specifically things that got better reaction than I actually expected they would.
Sure.
So the first one in recent times is the Rishi Stronghold.
Yes.
The Rishi, exactly, right? Like, so the Rishi Stronghold, I thought, first off, super cool. It's an awesome stronghold. And uh, the functionality that we added to it, though, I actually didn't think was a huge deal because for the most part, like we certainly have some prominent streamers and content creators who do things like run PvP tournaments and stuff. And so for them, it's certainly valuable. But outside of that, I was like, I don't really know that guilds, like it's a good feature. And I don't think anyone's going to not like it. But I don't know that we're necessarily going to get a parade for it because I just don't know that the use cases for how many people are going to use this is going to warrant a big celebration. And I was wrong. Like when it went out, people were stoked. Like people were saying things like, "This is like one of the first big innovations I've seen SWTOR put in the MMO genre." And I was like, "Wow, I misread this badly," because I really didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. And then what I loved about it was that when it went on the PTS, the dev team really rallied around how excited everyone was for it. That PTS was crazy. I have never seen the dev team put so many hours and so much time into making that many dramatic changes to a system we had put out on PTS prior to it going out. Like it was like they added an entire other area that didn't exist. Like
Right.
that's a crazy amount of dev work to do that. And so the team just really rallied behind it. And that was really cool for me to see. And I'm glad that I was wrong with things being more positive than I expected and not worse than I expected, because that's bad. That would be bad.
You know, what's awesome about that is what you said is that you already said that the devs love their job. But what you just proved was when all of us were so excited about it and somebody mentioned, there's nowhere to really sleep. And the devs were like, fuck, they love this thing. Let's do this. And, you know, it's true. Whether people still troll and talk shit, you guys accomplished it. And over the course of 3 days or whatever it was, all of a sudden we come in on a Monday morning to play and holy shit, there's an apartment on the PTS. What the hell just happened?
Yeah, like let me give you a process of example of how exactly that happened, right? So like whenever there's a PTS, usually like let's say PTS goes live on a Friday, I put up a bunch of feedback threads, whatever. Monday, first thing when I come in the morning, I gather every bug report, every piece of feedback. I gather all of it. I generate a report. I send it out to the dev team, and we set up a meeting for later that day to go line by line of all the feedback that I gathered from the way it works. That's how our PTS feedback cycles usually work. And the team looks at it and kind of organizes things on bugs we have to fix, what their priority is. For feedback, things we can fix, things we want to fix, what we will fix before it goes launch, what we'll fix after launch or never, whatever. And so we had a meeting, and I was in the meeting where we distinctly talked about the desire for there to be like the apartment type thing. And the team decided not to put it in because like it's a lot of work. There's a lot of QA that needs to go into it before it even goes to PTS and all that stuff. And then and that was at like 11 in the morning. I thought it was done. I came in the next morning and I saw a bunch of people gathered around like someone's desk, and I went over and I'm like, what is that? And they're like, oh, we added the apartment. And again, I'm not saying that's literally one night of work because that's not really what it was, because someone had already started working on it over the weekend when they saw the feedback coming in. And so it was crazy. It was really, really cool to see the team rally around that.
Great. See, we knew we'd get an answer out of it.
There you go.
So to transition from, something positive to something a little more negative, I suppose, what do you like least about Star Wars: The Old Republic, like the game itself?
What do I like least about Star Wars: The Old Republic as a game? Two-part answer.
Of course.
As is tradition.
On a small scale, I wish we had an actual auction house and not just a place to post sales. Because I think that's a lot more fun for like what I enjoy doing out of playing the economy, of being able to find places where people have listed auctions incorrectly and kind of pick up sales and do some of that stuff. And that still exists, but it's more fun when there's actual bidding involved. So I kind of wish that that was the case. Outside of that, what do I like the least? What do I like the least outside of that?
Well, I mean, the auction house is a pretty valid thing to like the least. I think you could definitely do that, but I get you already have the GTN in place.
Yeah, and so that's why I feel like that's kind of like a your listeners will listen to that and be like, he skated that answer. So I want to make sure that I give a real answer. One of the things that I struggled with for a long time was our classes and their abilities. I still think we have too many abilities in our game. Our ability bloat is bad, especially on some classes. Like you play a Marauder, how many key binds do you have to play a Marauder? I really wish that we would. And then again, this is a personal thing, so I don't know if this is actually a good idea. But like I would love to see us trim some ability bloat in a big way, and tone that down a bit.
Sure. I understand. So for me, all I can say is if you guys could fix giving the gold key and make the guild interface a little bit better.
Oh yeah.
Because our guild master and other podcaster Max, I am so sick of hearing him complain about giving away a key because it takes 15 minutes to find somebody's tool name.
Yeah, so window. I can tell you that the guild windows in general are pretty much all getting a facelift in 5.10. That being said, I do know that the problem with guild keys, my understanding, is that because there's no sorting by guild, by character names or anything when you're trying to grant a key, it's literally like just a manual scrape of like a hodgepodge list to try to grant it. I know the team knows, like, it was one of our stretch goals to try to get in 5.10, but it's just not something that we were able to do. But believe me, the engineering team is definitely aware of the request to fix that list.
And when is 5.10 coming out?
Beginning of December.
All right. So this is more off the side note. Does Matt really like Swedish fish this much?
Does Matt? So maybe I have a much better food related story with Matt though. And it's so I've known Matt for plenty of years. Matt's also from Pennsylvania.
Wow. East Coast.
Love Matt. Love Matt's great, dude. I swear, I think everyone at BioWare's from East Coast. Most people, not everybody, but there's a lot of East Coasters.
It's the best coast.
It is the best coast. Anyway, so Matt always has sandwiches, like all the time, but in like an amusing way. So I'll tell you a Matt story. So Matt was in one of my D&D campaigns that I played at a friend's house, and so we'd all like meet up and we'd all bring dinner or whatever, and we'd eat our dinner and then we'd start playing D&D. And so Matt like brought a Jimmy John's. Do you know Jimmy John's?
No.
Okay, Jimmy John's is like a sandwich place, like a not a Subway, but whatever. It's like a chain sandwich place,
like a hot sandwich place.
Sure. Yeah, or cold, yeah, whatever. Yeah, it's like anyway. Okay, so
it's a sandwich.
It's a sandwich place. He eats his Jimmy John's sandwich, and then we're playing D&D, and then and we used to play from 7 p.m. to midnight, so we'd play for quite a while, and it hits like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and Matt's like, "I'll be right back. I got to run to my car," and so he goes to his car, and then he comes back in, and he has another sandwich, and I'm like, "Matt, where did you get a sandwich?" And he's like, "Oh, that's my car sandwich." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, I keep it in my glove box in case I get hungry again. And I was like, "Matt, you're my favorite." Just from that moment on.
When we were watching the 5.10 live stream, he's devouring these Swedish fish, and then you and Charles were like, "I guess we're eating Swedish fish."
The best thing.
What the fuck are you doing?
You couldn't see Matt. I mean, if you could have panned the camera 1 inch to my right side, you would have seen Matt leaned in, holding like a little like bowl thing with Swedish fish, just staring at chat, just ramming him into his face. I mean, I'm surprised you couldn't hear him chewing. He was like right off camera looking at chat, and he kept pointing at stuff in chat, being like, "Oh, answer that. Oh, answer that." It's great.
That's awesome.
But why don't you get? You can get like a Logitech webcam. It's like wide angle for like $40.
Oh, they don't want to show Matt ramming down his throat.
Yes, you do.
We don't want that.
I mean,
I would love to do a stream of just like, let's do a 5-hour stream. It's just Matt. We're just gonna put Matt on stream, and Matt just go cut loose.
That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. But my favorite thing, and I'll just say it because we're talking about Matt, is how people were getting a button in the PTS to just insta kill Tithe because they can't fucking beat him in Nightmare.
Yep.
Can we please get rid of Master Mode and just go back to Nightmare?
Yeah. Oh my man, we've talked about it because I messed. How many times have I messed it up? Yeah. I put it in the presentation. I called it Nightmare. Yeah. It's a problem. Like, I think we had the absolute best intentions, and I agreed with the intentions actually when we did it. Of just like, our naming convention was a mess. Even back when it was Nightmare, our naming conventions were a mess. Like, we were inconsistent about what meant what. But the problem is when we changed it to just be Story Veteran Master, we also made it inconsistent. And then we also removed Nightmare, which was extremely common in everyone's nomenclature for that difficulty. And so, yeah, we just keep messing it up. The problem is, like, it is a non-small amount of work to change it. And I'm not saying we won't. It wouldn't be something we'd consider, because it's definitely something we still talk about. But we're with you. We're with you. We'll just keep messing it up.
That's great.
So you mentioned before, obviously, you're on the forums a lot. But we wanted to ask, how do you weigh, the negative feedback you might get from the community? Like, through what avenues do you take? And I know you might not be able to lay it out exactly, because then people only post to that one spot or whatever. But how do you sort of take stock of, like, people's reactions to things?
Yeah, so we do it in a whole bunch of different ways in general. So, like, if you look at the forums, for an example, right? The forums are quite literally a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of one segment of the player base,
right?
For the most part, right? Now, granted, it's the most engaged, most hardcore players traditionally. I'm applying a broad brush here, but that's a fairly accurate assessment of what the forums are.
Yeah.
And so it's a very good gut check for that segment of the player base. But there are a large number of segments for the player base, right? And so we kind of get feedback from, it's a mix of a few things. It's feedback from a bunch of different places. So obviously forums and Reddit are really obvious. Social media, from social media in general, influencers and podcasters such as yourself, because you'd be surprised that, maybe you wouldn't be surprised actually, that podcasters, YouTubers, stuff like that, can be a pretty good avenue to get feedback from the places that we don't already get it from, right? So I'm sure you guys have plenty of listeners who never go to the forums, who probably don't even know what my name is or what I do.
Right.
And that's a good thing, right? Because you're speaking to a completely different audience. And so it's really trying to take in a total picture of social media, forums, Reddit, depending on what we're doing. We'll even go as far for, like, bigger features. We will do focus testing where we very, very specifically hand select the people that are in it. I mean, we'll test things with people who don't play our game, people who have heard of our game but don't play it, people who've never played the game, people who played it once 6 years ago, right? Like, we can hone in really hard on what we want to get feedback from, depending on what it is. But day to day, generally, it's grabbing feedback from as many different places as possible to get kind of a total picture of what players want. And then when I take that information back, measuring it against data to see what happens when rubber hits the road.
Sure. I don't believe for a second you listen to any of the podcasts that talk about this game.
Zero of them?
Zero.
Well, that's I see what you're saying, because if you just for sheer time, like, it's hard to do. Like, there's no way one person would be able to listen to every single SOTOR podcast.
Oh, no,
every week.
I don't get anywhere even close to that, right?
Yeah,
like, I think
that's not,
at most, like, straight up, like, I think at most I've probably listened to maybe a handful of episodes or streams or videos of most of the content creators. Like, your podcast, I've probably listened to probably 3 or 4 episodes of your podcast in your history. And the way that I try to get some of that feedback as well is, right, like, when you guys post, like, as an example, you guys post an episode, is trying to look at comments and look at stuff of, are people talking about the new episode of Working Class Nerds? What are they saying about it? And then if there's a conversation that's happening around something that you guys talked about, then I'll try to find in the episode where you talked about that thing to try to get that stuff. So yeah, I'm definitely not listening to hour-long episodes of everybody's stuff. I definitely do not have that time.
Yeah, I listen to podcasts, and I can, I get like 7 a week, and I work 60 hours a week.
Yeah, I've been listening to season 3 of Serial for about probably like 3 months, and I think I'm halfway through episode 3, so I understand.
Up and vanished.
Absolutely.
Just Up and vanished is super good.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's basically, it kind of sounds like, if you have 3 YouTube content creators and 4 podcasters doing an episode on something you just put out, negative or positive, obviously that's having a strong response, and you can see that. You know what I mean? But if you put something out and it's all quiet on the Western Front, you might maybe people didn't like that much, which it's just sort of a neutral response. Or then if you can have the same thing in the other direction, people being outraged or whatever about something that came out. So I see what you're saying. You can monitor that stuff without having to actually go through and listen to hour-long episodes or entire videos or whatever it might be. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, totally accurate. Yeah, and like a double down on some of that is the influencers, right? So we have a large swath of different content creators that are in the influencer program, and and obviously you guys have my email address too, right? And so the one thing that I encourage anyone who has that kind of direct line of contact with me, right, is like, if you guys see something that happens and you have strong feelings on it, send it to me, like email it to me. The influencers are in fairly regular contact with me on a variety of things. And so if they see something bubbling up in their community where they're like, holy hell, this is becoming a problem, or man, people are super jazzed about this thing, they usually try to let me know. And so I would encourage you guys to do the same, and any other content creators that are listening, do your absolute best to try to reach out to me and get me that information, because it's super helpful. Because I only have X amount of hours in a day, and I only work Y of those hours, and so trying to find time to gather all that stuff can be challenging. But the other part of it too is some of it is just instinct, right? It's one of the things I talked about earlier of usually we have an expectation of how something's going to go, and so unless something falls really far off of the scale from where we expected, it's usually pretty good that we have a good idea going in of where things are going to fall.
Right. So I guess, how do I say it? The hardest part for me is, everybody, you say these words influencers. I don't even know what that is.
Sure.
So
do you want me to tell you? I can tell you what it is.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. So first off, I don't like the word influencers, for starters.
Because clearly they don't influence shit.
So it's a common industry term that people use for large, and I'm using large, I'm putting it in air quotes, but large YouTubers, streamers. Effectively, the intention is you are a content creator who has an influence on a community. Even if it's just their own community, they have an influence on that community, right? So we have a program called the Influencer Program, which is people that are content creators for SWTOR, not necessarily exclusively, but that cover SWTOR, that have been creating content for a fairly large period of time, that fall within some specific guidelines. If they and have interest in joining our program, if they join the program, they get access to an under NDA forum where we can kind of talk about some stuff. We'll try to work with them sometimes to try to get information ahead of time, try to get their feedback. To be fair, you guys would perfectly qualify for the program if you wanted to be in it, realistically. And so that's what an influencer is, kind of at its core.
Okay.
That makes
well, I
sense.
guess that makes a lot of sense, because I'll call Sotorista out how, I never even saw the Rishi Stronghold, and you guys release it, and she has a whole video on the entire thing, and it's completely made and produced. So clearly she got in there before everybody else to be able to make that content.
Right.
Yep.
Perfect.
Very cool.
Okay, so my final question, or our final question, what are you most excited for in SWTOR for the next year? So up until November 15th of 2019.
Oh man, that's a cheeky question.
Why?
You're trying to fish.
No, I don't. No. See,
I'm
not fishing.
We're on to you.
No. I don't fish anything. It's just so there's got to be something that you guys are talking about that you have mentioned, or that you can say, because obviously I'm not telling you to say, oh, tell me that
we have XYZ operation coming out or something.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I don't believe in data mining, so any of that shit I don't know. I won't even go to OSIS or OSIS, whatever the hell it's called, until it's live. I see the pictures. Okay, great. Ted had a perfect example of it from his podcast this week. It's like a combination of Jetta and Jakku. Perfect. Done. I'm excited. I saw a picture of it on your live stream. I don't want to be spoiled. So my question is again.
Yeah.
What are you the most excited for from now until November 15th of 2019?
Okay, so
I think I know you can't talk about.
No, I think I have an answer that is satisfactory. I think.
Is it two parts?
Oh man, wait. How can I make it? It wasn't, but now I need. Shouldn't the last question should be no, this is a one-part answer.
Okay.
Anyway, I'll just answer. We'll see how many parts it comes out in. So Star Wars Celebration is my answer to that question. For a few reasons. We definitely have intentions. If at all possible, we'll be there, and we'll do at a minimum a cantina. I'd love to be on the show floor or something else, but I don't know what will be showing or talking about necessarily at that point. But because Star Wars Celebration is such a huge deal for us whenever it happens, like the biggest if you guys have never been to a cantina.
I met you in New York.
Oh, awesome. Okay, perfect. Great. So
you were mad at me that day.
Was I? No.
Yeah. Well, it's because I was mad. I was not mad. Mad is not the word. Because, I look at, until I actually started thinking about it and actually put some real thought into it, I was kind of mad about marketing. And
Okay.
I cornered you at the, I didn't corner. I just walked up to you.
Yeah.
And I started talking to you. And my wife was like, don't bother him. He's talking to a million other people. And I was like, that's why I'm here.
That's exactly why you're there. Yeah, no.
I'm here to drink beer and ask Musco this one question. And it was about marketing. And you instantly rolled your eyes and whatever. So
I don't believe you.
No, you rolled your eyes. You were
I'm not an eye roller.
I think Marcus is very sensitive. He probably blinked the wrong way. And he's like, "Oh my god, did you see the way he looked at me? What an asshole!"
I love the concept. By the way, now please, if you come up to me and ask me a question at any other event, just open with, "I'm Marcus from Working Class Nerds," and then I will just immediately be like, "Ugh," and I'll do a full eye roll and look at everyone else, look at this guy here.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure.
All right. Anyway, so what the hell was the question? Oh, sorry.
What you're pumped about?
So the Celebration cantinas are always big for us because we've had over 1,000 people. We had 1,400 people at a cantina in Celebration before, and so they're always really, really big for us. So we always try to make a big deal out of what we're bringing there, right? We try to have big announcements or at least something big to talk about.
The Tithe fight.
Right.
You know how mad I was that I know
that was. And see, that's an example of where we couldn't get together a big announcement, right? All we really had there was Tithe. You could play against Tithe at Celebration, and we announced Ivella and Esne, and really not much else. And that was kind of, even for us, that was kind of disappointing because we couldn't get the rest of the stuff together. Reasons to talk about stuff really beyond that, and that was disappointing for us as well. So my hope is for Celebration 2019, we will be able to talk about some cool stuff at Celebration.
So what you're saying is 6.0 will be discussed at Celebration.
I'm not saying that. But
we gotta poke the bear a little.
My hope is that we can talk about some cool stuff that's coming next. Because I can tell you, I am excited about what's coming in the future. I'm excited about what's coming next year just in general, and so I'm excited for when we can tell you. One of the great joys I get from being community manager, you asked a good version of that question, right? Is what's the thing that I've gone home and been nailed it because players are really excited. I love seeing the passion that players have for the game and being really excited for the things that they do. I'm even you couldn't see my face because I'm not on camera, but I was grinning ear to ear the whole time you guys were doing the intro, talking about SWTOR Unite and the things that you guys did. I talked a bit with Dr. SWTOR about the stuff you guys were doing. That's awesome, and that's so cool to me to see the community come together and do cool stuff like that. And so when the community gets excited about things and does things, it makes me super excited. So anytime we get to talk to you guys about the exciting things that I know that are coming that you don't, always a win.
Okay.
That's great.
I was just going to ask one more, but I'm not
Please. No, do it. Ask it in two parts.
Okay, two parts is, the first part is, can you tell us something that's coming in the future that you haven't announced before? And part two of that is pretty please.
But is it pretty please question mark?
Yes.
The you're I might say please, but it depends on the first part of the first answer to the first part.
Yeah.
Man, okay. What can I say? That's a good question.
I have one that all right, is 6.0 real?
Is 6.0 real?
I think that's pretty broad.
What do you think it'll ever come out ever? Is what?
No. That's just a broad question. Just leave it broad. That's an easy yes or no.
It's not. It's not an easy yes or no.
How is that not an easy yes or no?
Okay, here's why. So I remember someone talked to me at one point about, it wasn't about this specifically, but I'm trying to think of what the context was that they used for it. It doesn't matter. I'll just use this context, right? If I asked you, what is 6.0?
It's the next evolution in the game. That's what it is to me. I have my opinions, just like you said about earlier about the hype train. Like, of course, I have my hype train exactly like. If you told me 6.0, I have in my head what the perfect 6.0 is.
Right. And so that's the challenge with the whole 6.0 thing.
But 6.0, you know, I mean, let's face it, 5.10 could have been 6.0.
Sure.
Right? It could have been because it's awesome.
Right.
It could have absolutely been it, and then you guys just added something else.
Sure.
But what I'm saying is 6.0 is the next evolution in the game.
Okay, so in the context of the question you just asked, sure, yes, 6.0 will exist someday. Yeah.
Boomba.
Because the thing, right? But do you understand what I mean, right? Like, if you asked 10 people what 6.0 meant, like, if someone may hear me say those words and then be like, he confirmed it. There's 15 new levels and 6 operations.
Well, no. See, I don't believe that because I think really truly, and this is my opinion, is you guys fucked up the whole leveling thing. Because level 70 could be it, and you guys could just go the stupid fucking command ranks forever. Mind you, I'm 248, and I'm fully augmented, and I'm loving it. But
I'm really getting a lot of positivity about this.
No, I love it. But I'm serious. Like, but, you know, I don't have to go to level 75 for an expansion to be happy. Like, for me to be happy. I just look at it as 6.0 marks the next evolution.
Sure.
That's all it is. So that, you know, you confirmed it. That's it.
Let me ask you this question. Because you brought up something that I thought's interesting that I've been trying to get like a thumb on because I'm curious is like, okay, so you talked very positively about level 70 and about Galactic Command in general. And I think it's not unfair to say that for a fair number of people, Galactic Command is effectively a 4-letter word. And
what's that?
Like bad, like a swear or something.
Yeah, people don't like it.
Fuck that! I love it, but I'll tell you why in a minute.
Yeah, okay, right. So you said that's interesting, right? Because if you remember when Galactic Command came out, I mean, Galactic Command
terrible.
No, I mean, was not received well, I'll say.
That's because people like to whine and bitch.
Yeah,
you could give every single person every single thing they want. Okay, I build custom kitchens and I install them. Every single customer, every single one. There's not every single person that I've dealt with ever has their one thing that they're not happy with.
Sure.
So I've had somebody who was unhappy with the doorknobs that they picked out. Yeah. I've had somebody that just didn't like the color of the cabinets that they bought or picked. I've had somebody who looked at a window that bought it and they're like, why does that window look crooked? Well, your house is built in 1901. That's why. So your window is straight, but the house is crooked and they just can't understand it. So you can't ever make everybody happy. Sure. That's my point.
Sure. Okay. So here's my question about Galactic Command, right? Because Galactic Command started in a place that there is fair criticisms about Galactic Command when it launched. And we've done a lot. We spent a lot of time, a lot of months, and a lot of work getting Galactic Command to where it is today. So, but still, there's still definitely some consternation around Galactic Command where people would rather see us go back to older gearing styles, right? Like PvE and PvP have separate gear tracks.
Yes,
absolutely. In PvE, it's something like solo content gets you, whatever gear, and then the next tier higher is out of flashpoints, and the next tier higher is out of operations, and gear drops on bosses.
No. I see. Okay. Yeah. So ask your question.
So my question is, what's your thoughts on that? Like, because you like Galactic Command, so I feel like if
it's fun.
And let's be clear, before anyone gets too carried away, I'm not asking because we're changing gearing, but I'm just.
Well, no.
I'm curious because you're speaking positively of Galactic Command, and I've always been curious, like, for someone who does like Galactic Command, what do you think of traditional gearing? If in a world where if we had done the thing that players had advocated for, which was unrealistic, of just we're like nuclear missile
would be playing the game.
Nuclear missile Galactic Command's gone. We're returning gearing back to traditional gearing.
People would leave the game.
Yeah.
You want to know why?
Tell me.
Because people like to earn new things.
Sure.
I know when it came out. Now, before Galactic Command, I started really playing at the end of the 3.0 era. So I never did group content before 4.0. Never. All I did was solo content. When the Galactic Command came out, and then I started doing group content, I'm like, this is fucking great. Except it's taking me forever to get gear or whatever. What I like about it is every time you level up, you get something. Now, mind you, most of it is shit. But that's the point.
It's part of the chase.
Right, exactly. That's it. I don't gamble. I don't do scratch tickets. I don't do anything. But what's nice about that is you're being rewarded with something. That's what I enjoy. Now, going with that. So Galactic Command, you guys have fixed. What needs to go away is Tier 1, the 230 gear. Somebody should be able to go up to a vendor with no command tokens or anything and just pay 1 million credits or 500,000 credits, whatever it is, and just buy their 230 gear set. And here's why. Because it doesn't matter anymore. And we
that low of a
gear set. That doesn't matter anymore. Just move it on. Move along. This is not the gear you're looking for. Move along. But what I'm saying is, what's awesome about it is, me as an example, I had everything in 248 except one piece. It took me, I can't even tell you how many boxes to get the final 248 piece, but it kept me intrigued. And mind you, I swore a bunch because motherfucker, I wanted that piece of gear. But what happened is I got little mods and enhancements that were 248 that I put in it. So the only thing I was waiting for was that goddamn 248 armor piece. And when I finally got it, I was accomplished, and I was like, okay, that's great. But what's fun about it is, still to this day, now you guys have added the charged matter, whatever.
Transubstantiators?
Yeah, whatever.
I think
I have a stockpile of those things. And everybody's like, you should sell them. I'm like, no, I'm not going to sell them. But you've added stuff. If I could be in your head and say, how do we move past this area? I think you reset command levels. Stay at 70. Nobody needs to go to 75, in my opinion. Just start us off at 1 again, but 1, and give everybody, 236 gear, and then, or 248 gear, whatever that is, and start off at 1 and then go again. A lot of people would be unhappy with it, but I look at it as, at this point now, everybody's going to look at it, okay, we're raising it to 400. Everybody's going to be like, what the fuck? I should have been 400 a year ago. It's
because they kept playing after they had reached 300.
Because once you hit 300, you're done.
Right.
And it's much easier to get command ranks now. I enjoy it. I don't know.
That's good. Thank you. Appreciate that. That's good. Good info. That's good. So I can tell you that at some point next week, we're going to put up some details on how Masterwork gear is going to work.
I don't even want to talk about that.
Because we've made a bunch of changes to it. And so it's going to be easier than it is, I think, as a general statement. If people have seen how it works on PTS, it's going to be easier than that to get, especially 252s, because 252s were way too hard to get. But anyway, so we'll talk about a bunch of that stuff. That'll be next week. But I'll be curious to hear what you think as someone who likes Galactic Command, especially because we've definitely removed an element of it from Galactic Command, but you can still get the parts from Galactic Command. So I'll be curious to hear what you think.
All right.
Sweet. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming on the show. Oh, wait, Marcus, did you want to say something?
Yeah, just bring back PvP gear. Please, just shut everybody up.
Dude, and we've said this before, right? Like, one of the challenges we had is that bringing back PvP gear is extremely complicated in a world where Galactic Command exists.
Well, no. So what if, okay.
Oh, boy.
It just popped into my head. And see, you did this. Now how, we were asking you questions and, we deflected for a little while?
Yeah.
How can we... Okay, if I'm playing an op as a tank, I get tank gear, right? What if there's a button, almost like the Vele and Esne fight, where blue and red. If you click blue, you get PvP gear. If you click red, you get PvE gear. And that's how your Galactic Command, and all you got to do is click a button. So if you need PvP gear and you want to max your PvP gear,
you open a command crate.
You get PvP. Your command, and all of your command crates from here on out are PvP gear.
That's very interesting. I don't know the complexity of what that looks like to implement. But
whoa. I don't know anything about it. I'm just saying if I was shooting from the hip.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Because if you take away Galactic Command and the fun parts of the boxes.
Then... Yeah, that is a big component that you're missing that's been in the game for a long time. Yeah, I think that would work. I mean, I don't know development anything. I'm just a guy too,
sure.
But that sounds pretty reasonable. Maybe you could click open this one for PvE specific stuff, or open this one for PvP specific stuff. I don't think that's completely. I don't think that's unreasonable.
I don't think so either. Actually, that seems like a simple yet elegant solution.
You know how many times I use that with a customer?
Simple but elegant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the time. It's like you were pulling the words from my mouth. All right, Eric, thanks.
Well, with that little nugget of gold to tuck in your back pocket for later, thank you so much for coming on the show. It means a ton to us. No, it means a ton to me and Marcus.
Yeah, thanks so much, man.
No, thank you guys both for having me. It's been I've had a very good time talking to you guys. I definitely have to come back and do it some more.
Absolutely.
Well, hopefully when 6.0 gets announced, we'll get you back.
Have you right back on.
It'll probably be the week after Star Wars Celebration. What up? All right.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
What are you guys talking about in here?
Find out next episode of
Working Class Nerds.